All right, everyone, welcome back to the Coyote Radio Show and Podcast. We have a great guest today. Dylan Earl's with us all the way from Arkansas. Great guy, great artist. Just dropped a new record, Level Headed, Even Smile. Check it out. It's streaming right now. Just dropped it a couple weeks ago, actually. So October's here. Festival season's finally winding down. That means I'll be having more guests on more frequent. So make sure you like, share, subscribe. We're on Facebook, Instagram, of course the YouTube, and anywhere else you stream podcasts, you can find us. But got to give it up to Duke's Indie and Jam Nation for sponsoring the podcast. It goes a long way. The support does. Bringing on great artists, big, small, just to get their story and hear their voice. So we're supporting what I believe is good, wholesome country music down to the roots. So, all right, I'm done babbling. Let's go talk to Dylan and see what he's got in store for us. All right, here we are. We have Dylan Earl with us all the way down from Arkansas. How's it going, man?
Damn fine to be here, friend. Cheers.
Hey, cheers. Dude, you remember these koozies? Like the old ones that
Oh
stand by
yeah,
themselves?
those good foam ones, man. It's hard to knock your beer over in that.
Yeah, the Country Music Hall of Fame was giving them away like 10 years ago or more at the mall. I was like, all right,
Nice, nice.
I'll take one.
Good ones. Well, cheers to you. Damn fun to be on the show.
Yeah, appreciate you taking the time.
Of course.
We got a lot to talk about, but as you can see, I'm sporting your last record.
That's pretty wild. Nice to see one of those in the wild.
Then we're going to talk about this new record that you just dropped, which is great, by the way.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah, I got several questions about that on your take on different things. But
All
since
right.
it's your first time on the show, I'd love to just start from the beginning. Where you're from. Yeah, how'd you get into music? Did you grow up around it or play an instrument or deep dive?
Right on. Yeah. I was born in Southwest Louisiana and spent my first 15 years of life down there. Um, and hurricanes in '05 kind of shot me north into Arkansas, and I've been here for 20 years plus now. I plan on dying here, not anytime soon, but at some point. And yeah, it's I was always around music. My mom, I think, has real good taste in music, and kind of I grew up around her old records, a lot of old country records, some rock and roll records. Um, and so I was always had an interest in it. And even when I was in middle school down there, I had a little middle school band, or just play three power chords, type thing, trying to figure it out. But in high school in Arkansas, when I came up here, I had a great piano teacher who also encouraged me to compose, because they also realized that I was spending most of my time in our classes. I was just in my little piano booth, just making shit up,
Yeah.
so making things up. Excuse me. Um,
Oh, you can curse. You're free here.
okay, great, good to know. All right, y'all, we're gonna really deep dive then. But yeah, anyway, I'd make a bunch of shit up, um, and they kind of realized that, so it gave me a little bit more of that freedom. So that encouraged me a bit. I was starting to learn how to teach myself how to play guitar at the time, on the same guitar the acoustic I still tour with and use. Um, so kind of getting into that, and then it wasn't really until I was um, I went to college, and I was kind of living in these like DIY sort of punk squat houses around, and we would throw shows there, and just kind of being around that environment encouraged me to be in a band, and kind of started a band with buds, and then we started playing these shows, and it's kind of really exciting actually. I've got a Midwest tour coming up where my friends that I initially first started playing music with, they'll be coming out on that tour. They're called May the Peace of the Sea Be With You. We used to do these DIY shows and bleed on our guitars and get real drunk and all that crap, So that's I think that's where I caught fire, and I was like, man, I think playing live music is the coolest thing. That's where I really fell in love with playing live music, and especially playing original music that I'd composed. So it was in those DIY houses in Conway, Arkansas. And then I moved to Little Rock after that. And I was in Little Rock about 5, 6 years almost, and being around that scene. I still love how DIY and how crusty that scene is. And I really kind of took a lot of my lessons from there, and then started touring when I was living there, and lived in Southern Ontario for a year, and on another whole weird side quest. And then I've been back here in Fayetteville about 10 years, and been touring full time the whole time I've lived here. So, or almost full time. I started, especially around the pandemic and when things were a little loosey goosey. I had a pretty long term carpentry job that I still would pick up and do whenever I'm in between tours, and occasionally I'll go out with that carpentry business as well.
Yeah.
So these days, so here I am in Fayetteville, Arkansas, in my house, surviving the flood, and yeah, I'm really excited to have that damn record out.
Is it raining pretty good out there right now?
It just let up, man. It was looking pretty biblical. Me and Nicky Bob Shoulders are neighbors. He lives just across the creek, back here, and we've been sending each other videos all day of his in the creek, and then I was going to getting videos of mine to the creek down here. You know,
Right.
so it was getting kind of nuts out there a little bit today, but it's calming down now. So I'm about to, after we have our conversation, I'm gonna go on a little buzzed run.
Yeah. It's been raining quite a bit here, but we needed it. It's been so dry. The crops and everything are just,
Yeah, same here in Arkansas. It's been so dry.
yeah.
So
Um, you said Louisiana, what part?
I'm
What town, I guess?
Lake Charles is the
Lake Charles.
little city that I grew up. I was born just south of there, but I pretty much grew up in town. Going to school and all that stuff, playing sports as a kid.
Yeah. I fell in love with Louisiana for a while. Let's see. My parents moved down there in 2010, somewhere in there for work, and they were off Pontchartrain on the south end of it, and
Right
pretty
on.
close to New Orleans. So I'd go down there, and I eventually made friends, and I would go every so often, and I'm pretty outdoorsy as far as hunting and trapping and all that stuff, and I ended up going gator hunting.
Hell yeah.
So every Labor Day, I'd come down there for the last 10 years. And I haven't been since once COVID hit. I haven't been back really
Right on.
because my parents left, but I still had friends down there, so I would still go down there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just fell in love with it.
It's
It's so
sportsman
different.
paradise for a reason.
Yeah. But yeah, and then just going in town or even downtown and just hearing the music, busking and that stuff too.
Yeah.
Hitting up any little bar joint and just catching any music I could find.
There's oh man, musicians in New Orleans, it's just the talent something else. It's so fun to hear and see. I've got a lot of friends of mine that are working musicians that their side gig is busking in New Orleans, and
Yeah.
they're living there. A lot of the musicians I know that live down there, that's their side hustle. Like, everyone has like a side hustle or a side gig, if you're at all in the bottom tier of touring, like where I've been my whole life, and everybody's got a little side something, and those guys all just go busk, which makes them just better musicians. I would sit down and play my guitar before I'd go to work, because I was like, what happens if I chop my finger off today, or something like that. I got to play a song before I go run saws all day. But
Yeah.
those guys all
True.
just live and breathe their music constantly, and it's something special down there. I think New Orleans is the greatest city on the planet. Um, a lot of people would probably disagree with that, and those are the folks like, oh, it's so dirty and it's smelly and it's hot. And I'm like, and that's what keeps people like you out of there. It's like, that city's like, it's just the greatest place on earth. It's
Yeah.
totally its own thing, and is like not really America anymore, but totally is. It's wild as hell, isn't it?
Yeah. It's yeah, probably most like every city. It seems like there's pros and cons to everything, but there's definitely a lot of pros, I think, down there. As far as
I agree.
cultural standpoint, never been anywhere quite like it.
That's where a lot of my dad's side of the family all comes from, Donaldsonville and Smoke Bend, which is just south of New Orleans, like even deeper into it. And that's where the Acadians all landed and
Yeah.
whatnot. I'm of Cajun ancestry, so I'm from Acadiana, and I guess I'm Acadian. I guess that's how you say it all, but or of Acadian lineage. But yeah, that's kind of where they all landed, was right around Donaldsonville in the 1740s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, and
Yeah.
and
I knew
got
you were a little bit on, as far as you seem to dive a little deeper in history of not just
love it.
not just music, but everything in general, really, life and where things come from, where you come from, and yeah,
Yeah, my
the
mama
history
made me
of
that way. She was an educator, and just growing up, she made me addicted to history and the road because we would take, we couldn't really like go on fancy vacations and stuff, so we would go in the summertime. We'd go out camping and just go out west or go on road trips all the time. And anytime mom saw historical markers, she would stop and we'd read it and we'd try to understand it in context. And that kind of really helped me develop a love of history and understanding where I'm standing.
yeah, yeah. I don't know how some people. I mean, I like to know where I come from. I don't know. Some
Oh
people
yeah.
want to know. Like some people don't care. I'm like, how do you not?
How do
Like
you not care, man? Like, how do you not care? Like, how all these structures came to be, both physically and like our societal structures. Like, how do you not want to know, like, what has caused this place to be and exist, how it is, and how you exist in it? That's important.
yeah, but yeah, I'm sure if we got together, we could spend several hours just talking shit about all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
But for the
I'll
listener's
get
sake,
about
we'll try and stick to music for the
it.
most part. But
All right, I guess so.
this isn't the. I tried doing those 3 hour podcasts. I can't do them. My attention span is terrible. So
Yeah, I couldn't do that neither, man.
yeah,
I can't hardly listen to podcasts too much.
yeah, that's funny because I I listen to very few myself, but I run two of them. Of course,
I
this one, of
don't.
course, this one, then one for work that's
Yeah.
about trapping and stuff. But it's just
Well, I'm on them all the time. I feel like at this point, not all the time, but I've been on, lucky to be on quite a few. And then I'm just like, I don't know, something about, I think it's my attention span too. I mean, I don't really listen to a whole lot of stuff other than NPR in the truck or the one country station that still is kind of good. And then, I listen to all my records here. I got records here and then I got my tapes over there. So I just don't really like, when I'm running, I don't listen to a whole lot of music. I'm kind of a crazy person. I realized this with when I was on tour with Chris Acker and Desiree Cannon, and a lot of musicians this way. Like we don't really listen to. I have a hard time with like being on the road and blasting music all the time or having sound going on because I'm in between shows, and as soon as I get to a venue or a bar, music's on.
yeah,
And it's music all night from 5 until you load out at 2 in the morning. There's like music somewhere happening, and
yeah,
it's just like when I'm on the road, I'm like, fuck, dude, I just want to hear my tires on the asphalt right now.
yeah. I
And
never really thought of that. Yeah, that would make a hell of a lot of sense.
yeah, I just can't do it. And so like then it's like, well, I mean, like when do I even get into a podcast? I have occasionally here and there when I've been on the road with the boys, they'll put one on in the van, as a compromise. And I'm like, okay, I could do like low murmuring, and then I get sucked into them. So it's just like it's just a matter of turning it on for me. It's just like once I turn it on, I'm usually cool. But I don't usually listen to a whole lot of them. But I've always enjoyed talking on podcasts, and then I've got some other of my friends that run them too. And I hear about people being like, "Yeah, we listen to that stuff all the time." I'm like, "Well, there's an audience for everything, I suppose, out there in the world, isn't there?"
Yeah. Well,
Hell yeah!
since we talked so much about location and everything, how do you think that's played into your music? I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
it has a distinct sound. Well, depending on each record, so.
yeah. I've always tried to make the records. You know, I don't really know what my sound is, and I definitely make my records. I don't want them to ever sound the same record to record. I don't want the songs to sound the same song to song. It's important for me that it's a journey, that it's like the whole thing's gonna move. There's records that come out that every song sounds the same, and you're like, well, this is boring. It's like the songs are good, but I heard that song the last track.
Yeah.
So and that's just the way I see it. But
Same time
I try to keep
structure.
yeah. I try to keep it like moving around and a little unexpected, and I try to explore all aspects of the Southern sound, whatever that is that I feel connected to, and even some little sounds that I'm not really connected to in space necessarily, but primarily it's all stuff that's like experimentation that I hear in the greater boot, the deep south, the Arklamiss, and that also is like a little bit of the swing from Texas that comes over, and then a little bit of anything else from the South, I guess. And you get a little like, with this new record, there's a little bit more, um, I guess I'd say like hill and holler music, sounds and influences like bluegrass, but most like trad style music. Um, so it was like neo traditional, neo honky tonk, whatever you call that. I don't know. It's fun to mix it all together, and it's fun to experiment with it. It's fun to try to create something new that still sounds old. If that makes sense. But I also don't want to. A thing I worry a lot about is replication. I think emulation is awesome. Replication is not so awesome. So I don't want to make a record. It's great getting some comparisons here and there. Oh, you sound like this, sound like that. But hopefully I sound like me. Because hopefully I'm making something no one else can make. I just don't want us to make something that sounds like anything before, but is also maybe something that's very relatable at the same time.
Yeah. Well, now that you say that, I'm just thinking about your catalog and how I've listened to it and how it's pieced together. I think you've really achieved that. Where it's still like, I don't know if you want to call it your lane or your style or take, but it's kind of warped into different things between each album. But it's still cohesive in its own way. It does that little journey that you're kind of talking about.
I only hope so, and that's like the only way I know I'm doing that is through folks like you. So
Yeah, somebody
yeah,
tells
I'm
you.
doing it on my own, but I'm just sitting there creating these things and hoping that that's kind of how it's being perceived and how it's being absorbed, and hopefully it's just an adventure for everybody and it's exciting and yeah, the next album's not going to sound like this one, because why would I do that? I already made this
Right. Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Time
I
to
want
move
to make
on.
something new, something exciting, because I want to be excited by it too. You know,
Right.
I try not to get fucking bored by this stuff, because I play these damn songs 200 times plus a year. And so it's like, I try to keep the catalogs different and just everything fresh and different. And chances are, if you see me live, you're not going to hear it the way it's on the record, because that's
Yeah.
boring also. The record stands as it is for its reason, and I love how they all have turned out, and that's so important. It captured a moment. This newest one really captured a hang that we were all snowed in for 2 weeks basically, and it was just a hang, and that was an awesome moment in my life and moment in time that I now pressed onto a daggum vinyl, which rules. But yeah, if you see me live, chances are I'm gonna be a three piece playing everything super slow just to fucking do it. Or I'm going to be solo and I'm going to talk your ear off just like I am now. Or I'm going to be a five piece and I'm going to play it really loud and bleed on my guitar a little bit like we're playing a rock and roll show. Because that's fun for me. And hopefully it's fun for you because it's something you can't get for free on the internet.
Yeah. Well, it keeps people wondering because you fell on my radar probably around the time when COVID hit and you guys did that Western AF thing out in the woods.
Oh, yeah. I
You and Willie and Nick.
know Nick. Yeah.
Yep.
That was out in Madison County, man. That was a crazy little place, dude. Nick was living in like he was living out of our friend's place that they grew up on. Our buddies Russell and Dan, they grew up west of or east of Fayetteville into the mountains a little further. Their parents are some back to the landers and live on this beautiful property out there, right on the upper right White River. And anyhow, Nick was like living in this little like pull behind RV trailer, and from like the 70s or something like that, and then just had an outdoor kitchen set up on the porch of like the childhood home that Dan and Russell lived in, and that was condemned at that point. But they had like on the porch near his little RV, he was set up and had a little outdoor kitchen, and then you kind of like walk through this house that was falling down into there's this beautiful black like back porch that you could look out for miles from there. And I don't know how much of that ended up in that footage. I actually never saw that thing. I have a hard time watching videos of myself, so I usually don't see them. But I don't know how much of that made it in the video. That whole hang, that was such an interesting time. Us being out there, I was on a really small amount of LSD. That was a lot of fun, and it made that whole experience just feel like I was like in I don't know, I was like in like a movie or some shit. So I have a very different memory of that whole experience than I'm sure everyone else absorbs. But everyone tells me, they're like, man, that whole thing was awesome. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, it was
I'll
great,
never
man.
see it. I'll
That's
probably never
what
see it.
really hooked me on your music was that video.
Well, hell
I
yeah.
started hearing your
Cool.
name a little bit out and about with, whatever lineups and
Yeah.
tours and whatnot. And then seeing that, I was like, dude, I think that guy's a good writer. And you can just
Thank
tell, like, had something going on with it. And then fast forward, following you through, and then eventually seeing you live. Um, and then here we are now. But
you. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Out there at Duke's, man.
Dukes, the
Released
first
it
time I met you, you
R&B.
probably don't remember.
What's that?
The first time I met you, you probably will not remember.
Was this, I played Duke's, but that was before the pandemic one
No,
time.
this was down in Texas. I was at South by Southwest.
Oh, God. That's always such a
Yep.
clusterfuck, man.
Yeah,
I
we
don't
were
know.
at the White Horse.
Yeah. Especially if I played the White Horse, I'm usually pretty deep in my cups.
Yeah, oh yeah. I kept bringing them to you. I think everybody was. It's that weekend or that week. Everyone's
Yeah.
just out running around to every different club and bar and honky tonk you can think of, and
Yeah. And if
I had a
you're,
blast down there.
if you're at the White Horse, then you're probably putting them back. And if you're playing the White Horse, I can guarantee you're definitely putting them back.
Yeah,
So it's kind of only one way to play the White Horse, and that's all the way.
that's right. What are
What's
you
up?
doing, buddy? Get out of here. Hold on, we got an intruder.
That's all right.
That cat's always annoying, but he just can't leave me alone.
Well, precious critters are precious critters. He just wants that love.
Yeah, oh yeah. Um, so what track are you hearing the most feedback on for the new record? Level-headed, even smile.
Probably mostly that title track I'm hearing the most feedback from, but quite honest with you, I think a real pleasing part of the feedback I'm hearing so far from that record is that almost every song on that album someone has said is their favorite. In fact, I think every single song has been claimed as someone's favorite at some point. That just a little bit I'm hearing, which is great, which means that it's not just like front end heavy with like one good track and everything else is not so good. It's promising that everything is kind of good, and it's also promising that that same thing worked. Where I'm trying to make sure that things are different, so it might kind of scratch the itch of someone's niche a little bit easier, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm hearing folks talk about Two Kinds of Loner. Lawn Chair has been getting a lot of love. Rock Me to Sleep. I was really stoked that people made it that far because that was probably one of the favorite parts of the record. We did that straight to tape. That one song was kind of recorded totally different. Where I had 9 songs I liked out of our sessions, and I was like, damn, I just can't do another 9 song album. I got to do 10.
Yeah.
So the artist calls 9 songs, and it still bugs the shit out of me, dude. So I was like, I got to make it 10 songs, and people are gonna be paying $10 for this shit. I'm gonna give them $1 a song, damn it. So anyway, that's why I was just like, I've been listening to a lot of Utah Phillips, and that song really hit me super hard. I found it, I was on tour by myself and was just like fucking going through it because there's always times you're on the road, you go through it, and you're like, why the shit am I doing any of this? This is crazy. And then
Yeah.
that song, it's a long place from a long way from some place to nowhere, and bumming all my good years away. I was like, holy shit, that's me, man. And that I really feel attached to that song in a certain way. And so we just recorded it straight to tape. That's Lee Zadro playing an Optigan, which is this weird type of like electric organ. The 60s and 70s were wild. They're building all these crazy fucked up electric organs that are probably, there's always been one that's broken in like your favorite punk house you ever went to. There's definitely Optigans and like those stupid type of organs that have these cheesy sounds. But this Optigan, it comes with like these like, the way you change the settings on the sound is that you insert these like flat, it's hard to call it a disc because discs are round, but there's like a circular embedment on this like flat like sheet that you put in this tray that's just like you open this like little oven thing, and it doesn't like snap into place. You just lay it in there, and then I guess there's something that it lays on top of that it reads somehow, and then that's what determines the tone that comes out of this Optigan. You think it's all this crazy like advanced shit. You look in the back of it, it's like literally like pulleys and levers and like some string attached to some shit. Like, how does this work? And so in the studio, we had this Optigan, and we kept like fucking with it. I was like, I want this somewhere, but I don't know where it belongs. And then Lee and I sat down, and he played it once on the piano, and I was like, dude, try it on the Optigan just to see what it sounds like. And it sounded so cool because before, it was just going to be like a baby grand piano and me on guitar, which is like nice, but it's not fun. And I was like, we're gonna do some fucking Utah Phillips. That dude was a freak, and so he'd like this shit. And yeah, that opening sound, that boring that you hear at the end of that track, is just you'll hear him close. If you listen to it, you'll hear him close the little compartment for the
Right.
sleeve thing, and when you do that, it turns it on. So it goes, you hear the click of the thing closing, or like just the cupboard. It sounds like a cupboard is closing, and then you hear this, and then we timed it just so we kick straight in the song right when that happens. So it's a fun little. That's like one of my favorite tracks because it's straight vocal, straight Optigan, straight guitar. It was our second live take, and the first one was a keeper, but the second take we did it, and we're like, we ain't getting any better. That's it. And it's fun when you know it, and it doesn't happen very often because you really have to work some things, and you finally get there. But sometimes you hit something live and you're just like, that's fucking it. And it doesn't happen very often. And it's not like, oh, we're awesome, we did it. It was just like a holy shit, it worked. We did it. And
Yeah.
that's really exciting. So I really like Rock Me to Sleep. But yeah, a lot of people, Two Kinds of Lunar Lawn Chair, High on Washita. Of course, a lot of people that live in the Washitas love that song. Lawn Chair, I think it's been really relatable to some Little Rock folks because there's shit that I hide in my music that is, there's certain lines that are meant for like 10 to 30 people, like they'll be
You got to
entertaining
be
for
on the
everyone
inside
else.
for that.
But there's some lines of Little Rock Bottom that I know a couple of people. I've been hit up with some close friends, and they're like, the corrugated tin, hell yeah. And I'm like, yeah, dude, and I'll just leave it at that because it should be a mystery just for a few people. But there's some fun stuff hiding in there for my buddies. It's an album that's by and large for my friends, and I never was going to get younger to be able to write about a lot of that stuff again, and a lot of that is from, I've kind of was like, I need to write about these weird 20 somethings time I was in, like when I was really kind of coming into playing music, when I was really figuring out what the hell I was doing. So I figured all of that was happening. I was just aging and getting further away from that. So it was time to write about a lot of the stupid shit. There's a lot of songs in there about getting fucked up,
Yeah.
I used to, I
Well,
definitely, dang, I used to party, buddy. Come
that's
on.
life stories, that's real shit.
Yeah, it's real shit. So hopefully, it seems what I've been really happy about. People have been relating to the record. Um, hopefully there's little parts for everybody. Of course, Outlaw Country's been a big one for everybody. Um,
That's a funny music video too. I like.
you know, took one from Bobby D, the old namesake there,
Yeah,
and
I just watched a documentary here in town. There's a old art craft movie theater that still do old screenings and stuff, and
cool.
someone took the charge of just like doing music night on like Wednesdays and doing something related to music.
Man,
Like
I'd be there all
last
the
month
time.
was something with Prince, but they had this Bob Dylan documentary. I think it was what was it? I forget what they call it. I don't know. It was from 1965, recorded in London, just as
Yeah, I know the one. I can't remember the name of it. I know the one you're
it's like
talking about.
Long Way Down or Long Way Out or
Yeah,
anyway. Uh, that's how they open the whole thing. Is him flipping through those cards. So
yeah. Yeah.
within a week's time, I see you doing it. I'm like, oh shit, it's still a, that no one's gonna forget that.
Yeah. Ideally. That was a fun one. I made that video with my buddy Jonathan Terrell. If you're not familiar with his music, dig into that. Talk about a hell of a songwriter. He co-wrote Lawn Chair with me. Him and Cameron Duddy from Midland. We us three wrote that one together. That's the only real like co-written song on the album. Everything else is me, with the exception of the bridge on Little Rock Bottom. Lee Zadra wrote that. Um, but yeah, JT filmed that thing at the Sagebrush in Austin, and we did it in like an hour, on a little shoestring budget. Like, we need a video for this thing, and JT was like, "Gotcha." So that
Yeah.
was a fun one to do.
I like the sagebrush.
Love that
One
place.
of those things, if you're not from the area and you go down there, you're like, this place has been here since God knows when. Then you find out the history of the place. Like, this isn't very old in the grand scheme of things at all. Like this
No, no, they
venue.
just like knew how not to fuck like a cool place up.
Okay. That's what I was kind of wondering when I was there. But
Yeah, it used to be like an old, like I think it was like a Tejano club for the longest time, I believe, and it has operated somewhat, I mean, as a dance hall for a long time. Um, but yeah, they just kind of like didn't make it look like a website, which was nice, you know. So, and it's what I really love about that place is the community that's there, the staff, you know, like the bartenders, the staff, everybody there. Booking there is just so easy, best people to work for. They're, you know, they don't tolerate no racist or homophobic bullshit, which I appreciate out of a place that is, you know, it's weird. You know, you're kind of fitting in and around honky tonk scenes and stuff like that, and doing what I do. You oftentimes find yourself in some pretty conservative, bigoted places,
yeah.
and so you worry about that sometimes, and sometimes you have to do the vetting for the clientele, you know, here and there because you might end up with some asshole at your show, and the venue just kind of like shrugs a little bit, and you're just like, hey, dude, we don't, you know, we don't say
Yeah.
those words in here type shit, you know, kick rocks. And but Sagebrush will be the first. Those folks step in and kind of make sure to ensure that they have a safe space for everybody because country music is for everybody and everybody.
And everybody, yes. Absolutely. No, I love that. Oh man. Yeah, that have you I'm sure there's been several people that have filmed music videos there. Have you ever seen Jeremy Pinnell's music video that he just filmed there?
Yeah,
That dancing, I mean,
with Rod Lawson.
it's a great.
Yeah, yeah, Rod Gator. That's Rod Gator on there. Lawson. He's from South Louisiana too.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. He runs the door there, and he has a library on the bar, and so you can check out a book from the Rod Gator Library. It's pretty great.
Really?
Yeah, he's got really
That's
good
cool.
taste in books. So if you're ever in Austin and you're planning on reading a whole book while you're there, go check a book out. It's an
That's
honor.
great, man. No, I know, you said you drop subtle hints and things for your inner core people that only are going to know certain things, but like there's even like a little bit of an outer core for people that are just from the general region when you speak on things like
Yep.
Washita. Some people don't even know what that word is or what it,
Yeah.
but the funny thing is Arkansas I consider like my second home. Like I spent more time there than anywhere else other than
Like,
my own home in central Indiana.
whoa, really? What you doing around these parts?
I know. I'm in the Washita. I spent a lot of time down in like Waldron area,
Holy shit.
Y City and Mena.
Whoa, Y City and Mena?
Yeah,
That's some
down.
pretty areas. I used to play Waldron and Mena in sports. They were in our conference when I was in high school. So
Yeah,
I was over there a lot. But Y City,
I
man,
know. Y City ain't much there, is there?
Jude Brothers has one of the most beautiful songs about falling in love with you know with someone of the same sex around Y City. And
That's
yeah,
awesome.
if you dig into that, find that
I'll have
song.
to dig into it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Jude Brothers, the whole chorus is about Y City.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason why we would be down there as often as where I go with my father-in-law, and he owns a taxidermy shop. That's what I do for a living. I do taxidermy. We sell
Hell
like
yeah,
trapping supplies and deer scent and things like that. But
cool.
we make our little YouTube videos of us going out and trapping animals that needed thinned out or whatever. And the turkey biologist down there is like, hey, we got too many predators in the area, destroying the nest, and we need to
Yeah,
kind of thin some of these out. And we usually go in after, say, deer season's done with or whatever, and we try and thin out some bobcats or coyotes or whatever, the nuisance things. And we've been doing that for several years, and they would report back to us kind of like where they think they are numbers wise and things. So,
right on. That's cool.
but yeah, it's kind
That's
of neat. I
cool.
haven't we've done this in several states. We travel around, but Arkansas we spent the most time at, and almost two different trips a year just to do that. But here lately, we've been doing a lot in the Panhandle of Texas. Kind of the
Okay.
same thing. It's a cattle operation, a huge cattle operation, but
Yeah.
they want us down there when the calves are having young and they're calving, and the coyotes just wreak havoc. They're losing like so many of their babies, or just
Oh,
as soon as they drop out, the coyotes are there. They already know.
yeah, yeah, they can
They
smell
just
that
know
stuff.
what to do. And so, I was down there for 14 days, and I think we caught like 90. Like they were everywhere. They were behind every bush. Like
Yeah,
there
they
was
don't
just
have any
too many
real
in one
nasty
area.
predators.
Huh?
Coyotes don't have any damn predators, you know?
No, no. I mean that's why this podcast is called the Coyote Radio Show, because that's what I
Right
kind
on.
of do for a living. So if it makes
Okay.
sense now, so I kind
Wow.
of bridge my two worlds together
I
basically.
love that.
Um, yeah, man, it's just a weird thing. They thrive in every situation you can imagine, like the hottest places on earth in the desert, flipping over rocks, eating little lizards to survive, to way up in the deepest snow you can think of, all across the damn continent. It's
It's
crazy.
wild, man. Coyotes are everywhere. I hear them even here in town, and
Oh yeah,
especially when I go out into the hollers around here. I mean, it's just like, man, those things are just everywhere. I mean, it's like, it's kind of wild. Even when I lived in the Delta, just around those farms along the Mississippi River, I was during the pandemic. I spent most of my time on a 3,000 acre farm, and I was like in this little house in the middle of huge corn and cotton field, and they would just like every night would be surrounding us, and
yeah,
in the trees, just hooting and hollering at us.
yep.
But I
Talk,
think, of course, the dogs that were with us hated that shit. So
but well,
that's wild, man. Panhandle of Texas. I mean, yeah, Texas sold off all its damn land. It's all just ranches. There's no public land in that whole state.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think maybe they have 2 or 3% in the whole state of Texas. It's
Yeah.
public.
You got to
Yeah,
know someone to
wow.
get in there. I mean, we just got lucky with a guy that likes us and follows us online or whatever, and invited us down. I was like, okay.
Damn.
But
Cool.
when we're down in Arkansas, though, I'll get in this kick where, we always have tunes on the radio, and I usually get in that groove where I got a bunch of you guys down on the playlist as we're driving. It's like, so we're hearing all these things about the area when you're dropping lines here and there about Ouachita or whatever. And
Right on. That's cool as hell. You have a bit more of an experience with it than I would have suspected. That's awesome.
yeah, I remember texting Nick too one time. I was sending him pictures of there was some crazy sign on the side of the road. Some
Mhm.
hillbilly must have put up or something. I forget. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But he's like, "Oh, is that in such and such such?" I'm like, "Yep, that's where I'm at." He knew exactly where I was, and then it seemed like I was in the middle of nowhere, but
Yeah.
he knew where
Yeah,
it was.
that's kind of where we prefer to be. But also, I mean, Arkansas has maybe just only around 3 million people in the whole state. So, I mean, it's like pretty rural all around. And you just
Yeah,
kind of know those little pockets and those communities. Of course, again, for me in that area, that's where I spent high school, was in that area. So
yeah,
that's that was, that whole song is really, kind of about the place that I call home. And that's really those mountains, particularly North Logan County for me. So I went to school at a little place called Subiaco, over near Paris. So
Paris. Yeah,
you could like, yeah, I'm like basically on, you're on like the west of Mount Magazine, and I was like on the north side of Mount Magazine,
yeah.
essentially, in that whole area. But we would come down, Waldron and Mina were the western side of our football conference. We played down and play Magazine, and that was about Boonville. Of course, Boonville would wipe the floor with our asses. Uh, yeah, but Mina and Waldron we could usually beat.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mina was pretty good though.
yeah. Well, I see why you aren't leaving or moving. Like it's a
Hell no, dude.
beautiful
People ask me all
state
the time.
that I think is underrated. And I don't. We shouldn't talk too much more about it because we
What I
don't
was
want
about
more going there.
to say.
It is.
Exactly. No, dude. I go out places and I'll be in LA or New York or something like that. People will be like, it's all about their tone of voice. So people go Arkansas, and I'll go, yeah, it's a shithole, dude. Don't worry about it. I'm stuck. I'm trying to move to Dallas as soon as I can. You ever been to Dallas? Great place. You should go check it out.
No
And
thanks.
there's some people that are like Arkansas, huh? How's that? And I'm like looking around, don't fucking tell anybody, but it's pretty sick. It's like ample land and clean water and not a lot of people, no fucking traffic, you
It's
know?
a. It's a. As far as terrain goes, it's very diverse too. Like if you got the flooded cotton fields all the way up to what you're talking about with the mountains. It's just like what a cool
It's
area.
kind of wild, that little spot where the Ozarks and the Washita and the Delta country meets, because those mountains, it's subtle, but the longer you spend there, the more you'll feel the difference, you'll smell the difference, you'll hear the difference of those mountains, which is something that I just discovered recently, and like 3 years ago. There's primarily loblolly pine, um, and or the naked pine in the Washita, and you don't get hardly any pine growing in the Ozarks at all. And that has a lot to do with sound. I was camping down in the Washita and hearing the wind blow through the trees, and I was like, man, hearing the wind blow through the pine needles sure sounds a lot different than the wind blowing through this red oak or the bodark,
Yeah.
Ozarks. So you just hear the difference in the sound, and that's something you're like, fuck, that puts me in a place. And then the smell's obviously different, and then you can kind of see the Washitas are east to west running little mountain range. It's the only east to west running range in North America. So even the way it shadows is different than any other mountains that you're used to in America. And then the Ozarks is actually not even mountains. It's just a sunken plateau. It's all there because of erosion. So there's
Yeah.
no rhyme or reason to those hills and hollers. It's all just how water drained. So that's also where all the lore of the Arkansas Traveler comes from.
Yeah.
And it's just basically about getting lost in the Ozarks and such. Are you familiar with the Arkansas Traveler? That story?
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
I
the
don't know if you
listeners,
see it. I got my little banjo back here. I know
hell
some
yeah,
banjo tunes. So yeah,
hell yeah, you know about
Travelers.
that then. But
Not that I can play that one worth a damn.
dude, I'm still
Honestly,
working on my fiddle and I can't do
it's
it.
tough for me. Like
It's
I'm
a
not
hard one,
very good,
such a
but
hard
I
one.
like the tune.
But the folklore behind it for I guess for our listeners is basically the synopsis is this fella comes up from Little Rock, and he was a city man. He was trying to maybe, let's say, get to Eureka Springs or Fayetteville or Springfield, Missouri or something. And he's traveling through the Ozarks, and the Ozarks, because it's created by this drainage, and if you're really familiar with the geology and the geography of it, there's again no rhyme or reason to these ridge lines. In the Washita, you can see a ridge line and say, okay, it's east to west. I can follow that, and you can kind of gain bearing on it. But the Ozarks are just very trivial, like very tricky to traverse, and also all the peaks are the same height because it's a sunken plateau. So every peak
Yeah.
you get to I learned this from PBS. God bless them. Hopefully we can keep funding them. Um, so if you look up, if you're, like I was saying, PBS taught me this. Bless them. If you're on the top of one of these Ozark mountains and you look across it, it's all relatively flat because it's just a sunken plateau, and that kind of helps you see. Oh, it's a series of erosion, and this is just valleys. It's not mountains that went up. It's everything's going down. So getting back to the Arkansas Traveler, this old city fella um, gets lost up in the Ozarks and hears a fiddle tune. So he goes and he finds this little old man sitting on his porch with a fiddle playing this tune. And he walks up and or rides up on his donkey or his mule, I guess. And he says, "Hey man, I'm a little lost. Can you help me get out of here?" And the old fella says, he starts fucking with him and just jacking him around, because he knows he's a city guy. And he goes, "Oh, you go this way, go that way, go this way, and up and down, up and down." And the city guy is, he's from Arkansas, so he's a little smarter than your average city guy. And so he realizes he thinks that this old fella's jacking with him. And so he pulls out his fiddle and starts playing the B part to the A part of the tune that the old man was playing, which is the Arkansas Traveler, the song, and or allegedly, And so he plays the B part, and the old man couldn't remember the B part. So then he's impressed by this guy that he misnomered as some city slicker. He says, "Oh, well, you actually know something there." And then he offers him probably a beer and a cigarette, and tells him, "Oh yeah, buddy, you just keep going down the trail right there, and you'll find your way out." And he helps him get out. But that's the folklore of the Arkansas Traveler, and then obviously there's the song that allegedly is in the story, and all that. But it's an interesting story that is totally developed around the geography, because the Ozarks are confusing as hell, and if you ever just go off bushwhacking and creek stomping through the Ozarks, it's easy as shit to get lost, and you lose your bearing, especially because it's all down. So you lose sight of the sun, and you oftentimes can't, you're just in the shadows of a holler. And so you have light, but you have no idea which direction the sun is even coming in, and much less if it's a cloudy day, you're just screwed all in all. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know, interesting little tidbits if you spent time in Arkansas, and a lot of people just think they're all those mountains the same, but they're so diverse and different just across that river valley.
Yeah. I mean, when I think mountain music, obviously everyone thinks Appalachia, but
Of course.
I highly put Ozark music in that realm. I mean, it's a smaller versus, Appalachia's much larger, but
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a part of that whole tradition of American folk music. It is largely derivative too. I mean, so many folks that inhabited the Ozarks when the first white folks were moving into the Ozarks, a lot of them were from Appalachia, and they settled there because it was so similar.
yeah, just the historical aspect of just where the music comes from and how it's changed. I'll send you a link. I had a lady on the podcast I met at a banjo camp. It's called the Midwest Banjo Camp a couple of years
Cool.
ago.
Where's that at?
It's actually in northern Indiana.
Cool.
Um, but I mean, there's several different styles that play there, from bluegrass to folk to, you know.
Yeah.
But Dan Tominski was a teacher there. Got to hang out and talk with him about stuff, which
That's
was,
so cool.
and Tony Trisco. That
Whoa.
was cool. But there's a lady there. She's much older. I don't know how old she is. I'd have to go back and look at the podcast. But her name's Sarah Gray. She's a folk artist, and she moved overseas and did music, and then came back and did music. She spent her whole life around this stuff, and she kind of gave a history of like how the music came from the British Isles over to like New York and the Bay Area there, and then came down through Appalachia, and then eventually
Yeah.
when it hits the deep south and cuts over into um, Ozarks in your area, the she talked about like particular tunes of you could trace those
Yeah.
individual songs and how much they've changed. And what she was talking about was what I found was real interesting. By the time they ended up getting down to like your area, some of the same tunes were much more darker, more murder ballads mixed in there, and like some crazy shit that would happen. And I don't know if that was just I believe she contributed that to like once it hit more of the slave states of all the dark times that happened there, you know. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy. I'll have to send you the link. You have to dive deep. It's kind of a long one, but it's really good. She's a real sweet lady too.
I'd love to hear more about that. There's some real fun stuff that I've encountered when I've gone back to England. Especially, I've done a lot of stuff in England with Jude Brothers, and Jude is so versed in traditional music, not just American traditional music, but traditional folk music from all around the world. But they're also, I mean, they're obviously super well versed in Ozark traditions, and I'm sitting here racking my brain trying to remember the exact title of one of these songs. It's something with like a name that the title of the song is this girl's name, but the way you say the name changed so much by the time, and you can hear by the way it's
Oh,
saying when we were in England, Jude sang it, and then after the show, this kid our age was like, "Oh, this is our version of it, and this is where your song comes from," and it's the same melody mostly, about the basically the same things, but the words are just you could kind of tell how it had taken
yeah,
shape from coming to the New York area, and then those sounds from those taverns slipping down into Appalachia and then over. I'm racking my name. Of course, as soon
and
as we get down here,
you
I'll
know
remember.
what's really weird that you just mentioned that? I believe she talks about a particular song about a name change throughout the. It could be the same song. I don't know, but
Possibly so. Now here, it's killing me. I'm gonna have to call Judas. When we're done. What's the name of that song? But it's so cool to hear about that. And for instance, I grew up learning Wild Mountain Time from my granny. I'd hear her sing it, and whenever I sing the version that I kind of grew up on, it's an old Scottish ballad. And when I performed it over there overseas, and people were like, "Well, I can hear how that's been Americanized and then Appalachianized and then Southernized, and all that."
yeah,
It's fun bringing country music back over to England because arguably it started there, which is interesting. I mean, it's a lot of those sounds from the British Isles, that folk tradition sounds mixing with African sounds, mixing with.
yeah.
Uh, I mean, that was pretty much, and then coming to America and then being put into that little pot, and then like here you go, here's country music for you, you know.
Yeah.
It's super cool stuff. I love like ethnomusicology and anthropological music studies is like so fucking cool, man. Because you got to
Yeah.
know
I
that
knew,
same.
I mean, obviously me following you, I felt like I kind of know you a little bit more versus you not knowing much about me at all. Versus, you know what I mean? So like I
Yeah,
knew like once I got a chance to sit down with you a little bit, we could dive into that. So that's great. That
yeah. Oh yeah.
kind of
I'm
like the banjo, everyone's like, oh, that the hillbilly deliverance or whatever they want to. Dude, that's an African instrument. What are you talking
It's an
about?
African
Like,
instrument, absolutely.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, what?
Yeah, dude. You know, it's wild when you meet a racist that plays a banjo.
Yeah, I know.
You're
Yeah,
like, my friend, you are unschooled.
yeah, man. Crazy world.
Ain't it?
So what's next? You just dropped this record. Are you gonna hit the road and like start playing it live for everyone, or is that the plan?
Yeah, I mean, I've already been playing a lot of those songs live out for 2 years now, and um, yeah, I definitely have a lot of dates coming up. We're starting to really shape up 2026, which is crazy to say that number out loud. I'm pretty sure I probably said that to someone a year ago. 2025, that's crazy. But shaping up 2026. I've got a lot of touring coming soon. We'll do all of our like local regional shows starting next week because October is next week, which is crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Um,
not prepared.
I'm not prepared either, so we'll start um, doing a lot of local regional stuff, and I'll get out to Colorado and try to hit some of that mountain stuff before the snow really starts coming down. That'll dip me down through Texas. Then I'll go overseas to England and then do a couple shows in Sweden with Jude. And then I'll come back and then I do a Midwest run, which unfortunately does not include Indiana at the moment. And I don't think will, just because those things have kind of shut up there in Indianapolis. But I'll do a little Midwest run and then come home from that and take a little short break of about 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully, maybe probably more like 2 weeks. And then I go back out. I do an annual Beers and Gears tour every December, and it's usually a trip out to North Carolina and back. So we'll hit North Carolina and I guess the Carolinas and Virginia right at the end of the year. So January is hopefully going to be a lot of writing for the next album, just so I can start kind of gathering material and playing it out on tour and developing it on the road. Because that's how a lot of these songs develop. I just start, especially when I do solo shows, especially shows that are low stakes, small group of people sit down kind of thing.
Test things out.
Yeah, yeah. You can tell like when you're at that kind of show. Some shows we got to really stick to it. Some of them are like, I'm playing to 20 people in a garage or a DIY space,
Yeah,
and it's like, all right, y'all, you're
they're
about
my
to.
favorite shows, but I know like as an artist, they want to see a lot more people show up or whatever.
People
But
do, but I'm not
it's
necessarily
like
that
the pros
way.
and cons of it for sure. But
Yeah, I'm not necessarily that way about it personally, really, just because I there's one person that gives a damn in the room, then I'm happy, Um, and I like small listening rooms. Hell, even the last time I played Dukes, it was a smaller crowd, but everyone was so attentive. Except for remember those girls I told to leave that were sitting up front.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, I vaguely remember that. What was it like a bachelor at party maybe or
No,
something?
there was just two gals. You know how that bar kind of runs perpendicular to the stage, and
Yeah.
those girls are sitting in the two closest seats to the stage. Everyone else is sitting out on the floor in their tables, and it's quiet as hell in there. And all I can hear over myself playing my song is their conversation. So I started like fucking up my lyrics, like fucking up my shit, and that just pisses me off for all the other people that wanted to be there and are like,
Yeah.
no telling when the audience members are going to see me ever again, and they've paid 15, $10, 20, but whatever it was, you paid $8 to see me. I want to give you the best effort I've got. And
Right.
like these girls are just, here's that storm. These girls are just fucking chatting. And above me, I just realized there's that neon sign that says, please shut the fuck up. And
Yes.
I was just started saying something about that. I was like, man, I don't think this is so awesome. This venue has this sign up here. And,
They're
it says,
not
please
catching the
shut the
hints
fuck
at
up.
all.
And those girls, finally, one of them got the hint. And this girl just goes, well, I like talking this out of the blue. And I was like, there's a wonderful patio you can talk on right outside. And those girls got so mad at me, and they eventually went outside. But yeah, I was just like,
Yeah.
sometimes folks don't fucking read the room, And you're like, are you so wrapped into your own shit that you can't tell that you're the only person talking in this whole bar right now?
Yeah.
Some people are just clueless, but I don't know. For me, it's like, it's not so much like you're hurting my feelings because you're not paying attention to me. I don't give a fuck about that. So I
You're
should
hurt.
the
It's the
conversation
other
aside.
people.
But it's just that other people really care, and I'm not doing as good of a job for them, and they've spent even a penny to hear me play music, and I just think it's unfair to them. So I remember having to do that at Duke's, and the bartenders were like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah.
I was like, "All right."
It all varies in there over the years, but for the most part, it's a very good attentive crowd. But there are definitely some times where they'll get up. There's a bell up there by that sign too, where they'll just ring the bell and tell everyone to shut the fuck up.
Right on.
Back on track here. We're here for this, not.
That rules. That's important, man. It's important to have that space because there's the majority of people want to be there to listen to music and do exactly that.
Yeah.
And there's just always like, it's not just America, but I encounter it mostly in America. In fact, when I traveled overseas and I first sat in rooms that were completely quiet, like in England, it like freaked me out because I'm so used to being in America. And if I was playing a small show and playing in some corner of a restaurant, everyone talks over you.
Yeah.
But I'd never really experienced that before in England. It freaked me out. So it doesn't really bug me so much now, but it's again just annoying if someone's really trying to be there and be into it and actually gives a damn. It's annoying when I'm getting distracted, and then they're probably distracted too. So
Right.
nice to be in a space when people really try to cater to the songwriting.
Right, for sure. Yeah, it's a gym spot. I'm gonna miss Duke's, but the community will always be there. That's what I've been talking with some of the locals here. Like, hey, if it's not in that building, all of us are gonna find a place to go where we can all still go, you know, because they built quite a, we got a little family going on. People I've never met before until I started going there, and I consider them really close friends now.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, as long as there's good music
There,
floating
bub.
around, we'll find a
Hopefully
spot.
that community will find a place. That community will find a spot to exist. I've got faith in that because that's how good communities work. It's kind of why I still have faith in my community, even though we've lost so many venues in this town.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to try out the hi-fi over there and see what that's all about and dig into Indianapolis because I like all the folks around there and everyone's so damn kind to me. So that's a pretty easy way to get me to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down here and chat with me for a bit and
Absolutely, man.
fill me in. Uh, yeah, next time you're in town, hit me up, and if I'm down your way, I'll see if you're around or in town. I'll hit you up. So
Yeah. Please don't be a stranger, even if you're down here and you're like, hey, do you have any recommendations on something to do or a place to be? Have you been to the Whitewater yet in Little Rock?
I have not been to any venues to actually watch music.
Damn.
I know,
Whitewater
but I've heard
Tavern
a
is
lot about. Yeah,
probably heard us all worship that place. That's like home base. That's the nest. That's the womb for me. You know,
outside of that, that's the only one I've really heard of mentioned over and over. There was one other person I had on the show, and I don't know how we got on the topic. Something about Waldron got brought up, and
right on.
there's a bluegrass festival there, apparently.
There's some festivals that go on down there. That makes sense as a bluegrass festival. There's all kinds of like old time fests and bluegrass fests all throughout the Ouachitas and the Ozarks, which is
Yeah.
cool. So you can find those. A spot that I would recommend in Fayetteville is George's Majestic. Um, that is a bit. It sometimes will tailor itself a little bit more for the college crowd, so they'll have some like TikTok influencer in there, but they tend to have
Hmm.
really great shows, and no matter what they have in there, sounds fucking great. It's the oldest venue in the state. It's 98 years old now. It'll be 100 soon. So I would say the top, that's where I'm playing from album release shows in the state, or Whitewater Tavern, Little Rock, and then George's up here. So it's a George's is a special good old place. It's a good spot. It's got a front room and a back room. But yeah, if you're ever around, I'll let you know what's going on. You know,
Hell yeah. I appreciate it, man.
you bet, dude. I'm grateful as hell to be on this show and cool to get to talk with you again and catch up a little bit.
Yeah. Where should the folks follow you? I mean, obviously you're on social media. Where are you probably most active? And do you have a website?
I got a website, dylanearl.com, I guess. And then on my Instagram is like the one thing that I really run myself. It's just like everything else has kind of just gotten too much. And a lot of shit like Facebook is just relay stuff. And
Yeah.
I guess my manager's been doing a TikTok for me. I don't really know. I can't open that app because it makes me want to I'll like have a stroke. So,
If it wasn't for work related stuff, I think I wouldn't have any social. I'm like burnt
same.
out. It's out of control these days.
It's
Like,
totally out of control. I'm on the Instagram because primarily work. Like I so much of what I do is through that. Um, but so I've like realized how sucked into that little world I've had to
yeah,
get. I've just been like, cool, I'm not gonna do another app. I'm not doing it anymore because this
I
one's
know they keep adding them. It's like Instagram, Facebook, freaking TikTok, and just keeps going and going. And it's like, when's it in? Like,
human beings are fucking insane, dude.
you, you want to be a musician, not a content creator for the interweb.
Oh, dude. I mean, you're telling me I think about it all the damn time. It's like my friend that was here earlier, I was talking about their podcast, Recovery Demystified, and they were about to go to the library and record an episode, but they were in between work and doing that, so they just stopped by and reading a book out front, and we're watching me kind of just like being a manic, crazy bastard on my phone and like coming over the computer and typing an email and I'm like getting on a phone call and then just being like fuck, 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 fuck constantly. And they're like, is this what being a musician's like? And I'm like, you wouldn't fucking believe all the shit that I'm doing constantly all day. And my guitar just hangs on the wall.
Yeah.
It just sits
Oh,
over there.
he's probably tucked away in his nice little mountain home, just picking out a song right now.
Oh, everyone thinks I'm just sitting
Every
around
day, every
writing songs. It's like, no, I mean, I'm running a small business. I'm running like
yeah,
that's what it is. It's a fucking small business, I guess. And you kind of have to like see it like that to kind of be like, am I working right now? Like, what is happening? I'm just stressed out about all kinds of shit all day, and I don't ever have a moment to myself. And you're like, oh, you're running a business. That's what you've been doing, you know? Okay,
right.
I guess so. And it's like a lot of it's fun stuff, and I get to have wonderful conversations like I am now. But some of it's like hunting down ISRC codes or like, other like authentication things I got to do to like get royalties done properly with this and that. And it's like all this computer crap that's involved. I don't know. I'm complaining about it, and that must mean that it's work, right? So, I
Right.
guess. But I'm grateful as all hell to have this job, and it's no get rich quick scheme, man. It really isn't. And but it's so much more work than I ever thought it ever could have possibly been. And but I'm grateful for that. And then you see the fruits of your labor by folks like you being interested in this record and having kind things to say about the art you made. So if it means that my album's getting out to places and is meaning things to people, then every little step of every little interaction is worth it for me. So man, it's really coming down out here. Can you hear that over there? Oh,
Ah,
it's just
no.
thunder like a motherfucker over here. But yeah. So long story short, man, it's a blessing of a job to have, and it's led me down every conceivable road I ever thought I could be going down, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm just so damn happy anyone wants to listen to my music at all. So you can find me all over the internet.com. Google my ass on there. So
That's great,
have
man.
at it.
All right, man. Yeah, I appreciate your time, like I said, and anyone listening out there, if you like what you're hearing, just please like, share, subscribe. All that little stuff goes a long way for both of us, really. So
This
much
is
appreciated.
independent shit right here, and it matters. So please like, share,
Yeah,
etc.,
ring the
etc.
bell and whatever.
Yeah,
All
totally.
right, man. I'll talk to you later. Been
All
good.
right, brother. I appreciate you so much, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.